Hi folks, so you find me on the fringes of Holcombe Moor, and lots of people actually go up to the tower that I just showed you there, Peel Tower. But we're going to do a complete walk. We're not just going to go up and down to the tower like a lot of people do. We're going to do a complete sort of circuit of Holcombe Moor and pick up quite a few interesting points of interest. Well, I certainly think they're interesting. So yeah, join me and we will discover more. So yes, we're going in that direction. I'm going to go all the way around, and eventually you can just see peeping up there is Peel Tower, and that's where we're trying to get to. And as I mentioned, Manchester is actually now obviously south of us. Yes, lots of people go to Peel Tower and they go to a car park and go virtually climb straight up, look at the tower and go down again. Like I said, we're going to do like a full circuit, so probably in the region of 6-7 miles, and look at various aspects that I'm sure you'll find interesting. That's a buttress and a half. That barn must have been in serious trouble. Had a metal plate put in up there. And definitely this buttress was put in after the building was built. That's all squared off stone, whereas that's just made of general stone. And I've put all that work in to keep it up. Looks like it's not used anymore. This is the Ellen Strange Memorial, and Ellen Strange was murdered here, and it was assumed by her husband, but it was never proven. In 1761, in the first hour of the night, which actually means 1 o'clock in the morning, and she'd come over from Helmshore. She's over there in the distance. So that's Helmshore down there. You can imagine coming up this track in the dark on a winter's day. Yeah, I think you definitely would have to have been a local to be able to pick this path up. The option we came on earlier was like the kind of like a main road almost, but now, yeah, this is taking you up over the moors. And it was January, which it is now, and it's very cold. There's bits of ice on the floor and frost. And where she died, a cairn was built, and it's amazing to think that this is still in place and added to since 1761. And then later on, in 1974 I think it was, this was added. And you can actually see ES for Ellen Strange. She must have been truly loved for this to be still in place. And in fact, it's reckoned that this is possibly one of the oldest memorials to domestic violence. Yeah, it was believed they were drinking in a couple of pubs down there, having been to the fair previously in the day, and then they had an argument, and it's believed Ellen Strange left on her own to walk over to her parents, which is actually over in this direction, Hawkshaw. And she probably would have been going towards Pilgrim's Cross, because that's where you would head now, as we are going to. Pilgrim's Cross. So this is basically saying that the footpaths run through army training land. I like the fact it says troops exercise by day and night. No access for horses during training. So that implies you can go without your horse, but then below it says danger, military firing range, keep out when flags or lights are displayed. Now I actually know it's that way to the military firing range and the land that they own. And you can just see there on the left, going into the sky, a flagpole that sometimes flies a red flag. I've been up here quite a lot, and it's not very often you see a red flag, especially at weekends. So we're fairly safe, I would say, at the moment. We can concentrate on going to the Pilgrim's Cross. So we're starting to approach the Pilgrim's Cross, which I'm sure didn't have to worry about the firing range and MOD land, because that was already put there in the Crimea War for the local military to practice. And now you can see actually modern day pilgrims walking away from where the cross used to be, because the monument that's there now was actually put in place in the early 1900s to replace the cross that had actually been vandalised. Right, we'll walk over and have a closer look. So you can see the white pole there. So the land beyond the white pole is MOD land, Ministry of Defence. And down in the valley, it's actually a firing range. So we'll not go that way. So don't be fooled if you come this way. It does say permissive footpath and public right of way, but if those flags are flying, you haven't really got a right of way. Well, or you're taking the right of way and a bit of a risk. I would certainly avoid it. So for now, we're having a look at the Pilgrim's Cross, although like I say, it's not actually a cross now. But it does say 1176, and in 1225 the Pilgrim's Cross is named in charters of gift of land in Holcombe Forest, because obviously that's the other thing to always remember. Although we see moorland now, back then it was probably all forest. So in 1662 King Charles II gave the manor of this area, gave it away to one of his lords. Yeah, as it says there, it actually existed in 1176. Well, that's when the earliest record of it was, written down record, but probably existed way before then. And it says pilgrims to Whalley Abbey prayed and rested here. And in fact, if we stand this way, looking in that direction, virtually in a straight line you can get to Whalley Abbey. It doesn't tell us where they were coming from. Yeah, nothing's known of the removal. It was found, or the socket was found in 1901, I believe, and then it was restored in 1902. Okay. So we're now heading over towards the tower, Peel Tower. You can just see it on the highest bump in the distance. I love this shot of Peel Tower with Manchester in the background. So it's like Manchester is a ghost town. So we're heading over to Peel Tower now. And Peel Tower is in memory of Sir Robert Peel, who was the Prime Minister of the UK. And when he passed away, the local people decided to build this tower in memory of him. So it was built in 1851, and yeah, it's 128 feet in height, the actual tower itself, but because it's on the moors here, high up above all the towns and villages around, it can be seen from miles away, especially on a day like today. Sir Robert Peel was famous for repealing the Corn Laws, which essentially had tariffs in place to protect the landry and their corn, or the price of corn. And the problem was, when corn was scarce in the UK, it made it expensive to import it. So even though the lords of the manor couldn't supply corn in sufficient quantities, the poor couldn't afford it even when it was imported. So yeah, getting rid of the tariffs meant the working classes could afford bread again, and obviously many other products. The other thing he was famous for was the introduction of the police force in London, and they were known for some time as peelers, or bobbies, which obviously relates to his name, Robert Peel. And they actually had a blue uniform to distinguish them from the army, who obviously mainly had red. Aye, it's cold. And just down there in the distance you can see a quarry. And the actual monument or tower was built from local quarried stone. So the way we're going down is the way that a lot of people come up and go down just to go to the tower. But yeah, don't miss this interesting bench. And it's the Millennium bench. As it says there, commemorates the community bonfire and fireworks on Holcombe Hill, New Year's Eve 1999, attended by 8,000 people.